1, 2. Where is my intro music?
There it is. Thank God for that.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. This is Live Irish Myths. I am your host, Anthony Murphy, like it or not. And for the next hour or two, an hour and a half, we are going to continue our reading of Lady Gregory's wonderful Cuchulain of Muirthemne. We're going to pick up where we left off last week, which was in the middle of the chapter that is called The High King of Ireland. Hope you're all keeping well wherever you are in the world. Sorry for the slightly postponed live stream. Coda is making his presence felt. Wouldn't be entirely unusual, let's be honest. I'm totally distracted now. Yes, sorry for the delayed podcast this week. You may or may not have seen that I was leading a tour yesterday. And that involved, believe it or not, if you're a patron, of course, you'd have seen the photos. That involved my very first trip in a helicopter. Yes, the first ever Mythical Ireland tour of the Boyne Valley delivered from 1,000 feet in the air. Fantastic stuff. Very enjoyable. And yes, I would do it again. So I got an eyelash hanging down. Before I start tonight and the reading and the greetings and all of that, sorry, this is very distracting. Before I start, I can't see properly because it's hanging down. Yeah. You think I'd get this done before starting? But apologies. The makeup department was closed this evening. Yeah, and it's still there. I think I might have sorted it. Anyway, in all seriousness, before I begin tonight's live stream in earnest, it behoves me to pay tribute to the late Lar Dooley. And yesterday morning, we got the sad news that Lar had succumbed to his illness. He had been suffering from cancer for, I'm not quite sure how long, the past year and a half to 2 years. Lar Dooley is a name that will be familiar to many of you who follow Mythical Ireland. Just to sort of speak a little bit about him, and if you don't know about him or you don't know much about his background, certainly in the past decade, Lar has been a very vocal supporter of the cairns at Loughcrew, and in particular Slieve at Loughcrew, and indeed very vocal in terms of the campaign to have Cairn Tea at Slieve reopened to the public. It was closed in October of 2018 by the Office of Public Works, probably in conjunction with the National Monument Service, over fears that the internal structure of the monument was in danger of partial collapse. And Lar has been a tireless and very vocal campaigner to have it sorted and reopened. And here we are 7 years later, and it's still permanently locked, something that is regretted by a great number of people, myself included. Until October 2018, you could get the key from a nearby premises, open the gate, and go inside and explore the interior of that extraordinary cruciform chamber and its wonderful megalithic art. Of course, Cairn Tea aligned on the sunrises at the equinoxes, the vernal equinox in March and the autumn equinox in September. But Lar was much more than that. He himself was a tour guide, often leading weekly tours on a Saturday up to the cairns. Lar was somebody who was very deeply involved in spirituality. He considered himself very much a pagan. He was deeply devoted to spreading as much information about Irish paganism, and in particular the spiritual beliefs of the people of prehistoric Ireland. He published a book back in the year 2020, and it was called, sorry, apologies, spilling the cards. There are beautiful cards in it, which I will show you in a moment. Out of the Darkness, a Sacred Journey into the Origins of Indigenous Irish Spirituality. At the time he was preparing the book for publication, he asked me if I would be kind enough to provide some photographs of Loughcrew for the publication, which I gladly did. Now, I'm not going to go into it now because now is not the time. Lar and I had our disagreements about certain things, in particular, some of the interpretation of megalithic art, which I believe, like he did, that a lot of it's astronomical, but it's the certainty around that we had a difference about, and also in terms of the longevity of the pagan tradition. Nonetheless, despite our discussions, sometimes very ardent disagreements, Lar never failed to be warm and friendly and generous. And indeed, the last time that I remember spending quality time with the man was at Newgrange at Sheedenbroga at the winter solstice in 2023, which is, less than 2 years ago. And during the excavations of Cairn H at Loughcrew, lots of these bone objects had been found, carved bone objects, which were said to have been Iron Age. But Lar insisted that they were bull roarers. And in order to prove that, he made replicas of these bull roarers, which he would demonstrate by, they're on a string and spinning them around and making this whirring sound, a little bit like a helicopter. And so he was demonstrating this to me at Newgrange, and I asked him if I could take his photograph, and he was thrilled to allow me to do so. And I was very happy to do so. And I, of course, gave him those photographs afterwards. Can't remember when I first met Lar, but it would be around 10 years ago. He's originally from Dublin, but spent the latter years of his life living at Loughcrew. And he was very closely involved with Niall and Sarah there at the Loughcrew Megalithic Centre. A man who had a very passionate views and opinions and beliefs, who wasn't afraid to speak out. He did not believe in kowtowing to any individual or organization, something that sometimes ired the people who he had lengthy discussions on social media with, but which many of his friends and followers would have admired as a great trait in the man. We are saddened by his loss. Above all, Lar was at heart a man with a deeply generous and open and honest spirit and nature. Again, not the time really to be going into detail about this, but he was very open about the sexual abuse that he suffered in childhood at the hands of a cleric. And I believe that was something that left, obviously, it would do, a long-held and deep impact on the man's life and views. But it was certainly refreshing and admirable that the man was able to face that with such openness and such honesty, never shirking from it and never trying to hide it away, never carrying it as a badge of shame for himself, but rather perhaps casting a shadow of shame upon abusers. And I greatly, greatly admired him for that. I met him at Loughcrew. I think it was 2016 or 2017 with my good friend Ken Williams. And the three of us had an early morning excursion to actually met him on more than one occasion, but we had an early morning excursion to Carnbawn, the westernmost hill, on that day, on that morning. And as we climbed the hill in twilight, the dawn twilight, Orion and Sirius were standing brilliantly over the cairns of Carnbawn as we walked up the hill. We spent a couple of delightful hours in Lar's company. I definitely don't want to take any credit here, but something that happened in recent years was that Lar became very good at taking photographs of the monuments, using all sorts of LED lights to light up the megalithic art. And he became something of an expert, and his photography, it's an interesting thing. If you look through his social media and his Facebook page in particular, fingers crossed that will be kept as something of a lasting memorial to the man. But his photography captured at all hours of the day and night. And of course, those of us who know Lar know that one of his great boasts is that he spent a lot of time at the cairns, and particularly at those liminal times, and at those times when he was the only human presence there. And I think that strangely, even though that may seem like a lonely thing to a lot of people, I think for him, it brought him great comfort. He felt very close in particular to the Cailleach. And if you read his work and if you read his poetry, you'll see that it's greatly inspired by the mythological as much as it is by the archaeological. He was a great painter too, something of a very talented and sort of understated artist, really. About 8 or 9 years ago, he presented me with a painting. He said, "Anthony, I would love to honor you by doing a painting for you." And he said, "Is there anything in particular that you'd like to be the subject matter?" And I said, "No, I'll let you choose that." And he presented me with a beautiful painting of Sheed and Broga at Newgrange, and featuring the lovers Etain and Midger. And I was chuffed. And that painting hangs here on a wall of the house and has done so ever since then. There's a lot that I could say in furtherance. At the moment, obviously, his family and his extended circle of relatives and friends in Loughcrew, in Dublin, in Ireland, and of course around the world will be mourning his passing. But Lar was staunch and strenuous in his belief that, for all of us, there is something after this mortal, carnal existence. So all that I can do at this juncture is to wish him a safe passage on to the other realm, the other world, the next life, and to say rest in peace. And to say that his memory, of course, will live on for many, 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 many years to come. So yeah, that's my little tribute to Lar. As I said, he and I, we had some very vocal differences of opinion. But as I said, when you met him afterwards, there was absolutely no indication of any grudge or any... He never took any of that personally. You could disagree with him staunchly about something, and the next time you met him, there'd be a warm handshake and a smile and a friendly conversation. And I'd like to think that's how Lar will be remembered by those of us who knew him. In other news, the latest Mythical Ireland podcast has just been published in the past couple of hours, and that is, of course, for Mythical Ireland patrons at the Bronze Age level and above. If you want to listen to that and previous podcasts and access other exclusive material, including photographs and blog posts and news updates and videos, please consider becoming a patron to support the whole Mythical Ireland project. And to do so, you just type in the link that you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen throughout the live streams. And that is patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. The new podcast, which is episode number 3, features a long conversation that I had in the past week with a man who I've met on a couple of occasions and who I have great admiration for. He's an Englishman who lives quite close to Stonehenge in Wiltshire. And incredibly, his ancestors have lived there for generations. And when he did a DNA test, he discovered that his DNA goes all the way back to the Mesolithic, and that his ancestors probably crossed to Britain from what is now mainland Europe before the sea levels rose, while there was still a land bridge connecting what is now the island of Britain with Europe. He is none other than Terence Meaden. Terence is known as Terry to his friends. I call him Terence. I just like to call people by their proper names, as it were. Terence is 90 years young, and at 90 years young is still writing, researching, and publishing. Now, he's had health difficulties in recent years, and he probably won't be returning to Ireland, where for about 8 to 10 years he undertook repetitive study and observations of the recumbent stone circles of Cork and Kerry. Now, in about 2017, I think it was, I spent a couple of days on separate occasions in the same year with Terence in Cork. We visited Drombeg Stone Circle and Bohona Stone Circle and maybe one other. I can't remember the name of it now. And he told me in the podcast that, in fact, he reckons he had visited Drombeg Stone Circle around 50 times. Now, remember, Terence is an independent researcher, not funded by anybody. So when he comes to Ireland, he pays for his own flights and his own hotel room and spends several days. And he says that the key, of course, to his observations was being at the stone circles at dawn for the sunrise. And the reason that's very important, if you want more information, is in the podcast. And also, if you've seen what I've shared about the podcast on social media, Terence says this and means it wholeheartedly, that Ireland is the key to decoding the astronomical function of Stonehenge. He says that if he had not studied the stone circles of Cork and Kerry in such detail, he wouldn't have come up with the astronomical solution that he is proposing for Stonehenge. And he is confident in this. Sorry. In fact, he says that he reckons he has completely solved the mystery of Stonehenge and its alignments, and he intends to publish a book about that, all going well, next year. His book, I'll show it to you, his book about the stone circles of Cork and Kerry is in itself a supremely impressive tome. The Stone Circles of Cork and Kerry with Analyses and Gazetteer. It runs to 350 pages and is illustrated throughout with colour photographs. There are 60 recumbent stone circles in Cork and Kerry. Now, apart from those that have been destroyed, which he also studied through the existing documentation about them, he has visited every single one. And in many cases, as I said, repeatedly, a very, very, very impressive, tenacious and intelligent scholar, persistent, and actually he's an academic, but he has the air of an academic, but at the same time, you very much get the impression of somebody who's just passionate about what he does. he has some theories about male and female symbolism at stone circles, and something of a sexual union, as it were, between the sun and the earth being represented by alignments at stone circles. I don't think he would be considered a controversial figure in academic archaeology, but I suspect that one or two of his ideas would certainly come under scrutiny by archaeologists, but he backs it up all the time with evidence and observation. For a fascinating story about a missing stone at Drombeg Stone Circle and how he tracked it down. So I'm not going to tell you any more because I want you to subscribe and go and listen to the podcast yourself. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Just a reminder that this coming Saturday, time is flying, and all of this has come around very quickly, is the megalithic tour of Sligo, which is the joint tour between myself and Simon Chute of Monumental Ireland. There are still tickets available for that tour, which will depart the Mullingar Park Hotel at 9 a.m. on Saturday. And we will be visiting the three major monument sites or complexes. We're going to go to Creevy Keel Court Tomb. We're going to go to the Carrowmore megalithic complex. And last but not least, in fact, last but probably most spectacular, we're going to climb up the Brickleave Mountains to visit the cairns of Carrowkeel. So that promises to be a very, very special day. I'm looking forward, if you've booked a ticket, really looking forward to meeting you and spending the day in your company. So myself and Simon have hosted joint tours at Ishnock, which have been a great success and great crowds. This is a new departure because neither of us has ever done a full day tour involving a coach. There will be stop, obviously, for toilet breaks, and of course, we'll be stopping for something to eat. On the way, we wouldn't expect people to go hungry or anything like that. That's extra, by the way. That's not included in the ticket price. Anyway, if you want to book your tickets for that, I'll share the link with you now in the comments. And of course, the easiest way to find information about the tours is to go to the Mythical Ireland website. That's mythicalireland.com or mythicalireland.ie, and just click on Discover and Tours. Find the tours page. You can do fairly easily. Sorry, I forgot to show you the beautiful postcards with Lar's paintings on them, which I presume were given with each book, or maybe it's just that the copy he kindly gave to me as a gift to say thank you for the photography. Included these beautiful cards in them. So Lar, as I say, will live on long in the memory, and speed your journey, Lar, and we'll all see you on the other side at some point. Right, I better get round to reading some of the comments before we actually get to the order of business, which is to actually read Cuchulain of Muirthemne. First to comment tonight, and we're 25 minutes in already, and I'm only just getting around to reading the comments, so I'll be as quick as possible. Elaine Lingenfelter saying it's cooler in Texas, 28. Wow. What is it here? It's probably about 16 15. If I was to guess, I would say 15. Yes, exactly 15 here right now. Love the meetup photos in Colorado. We need to do that next year in Ireland. Yeah, as I did. So if you haven't been following, there is a what you might call a chapter of the Mythical Ireland community in Denver, and we call them the Tua de Denver. We hope you had a lovely time in your meetup across the water. Johnny Wilson is also in Texas, saying a big howdy, and it's also 28 there. Sunny, cloudy day. Sounds a bit Irish. Partly sunny, partly cloudy, I suppose. Nico and Stephen are saying hello. Good evening, Anthony and the Mythflix family. Mouse sends tail wags to Coda. He's here. Your senior, beautiful husky girl. Well, that's Saskia. I don't want to misspell her name, and the pup and kitties around the world. Blessings. Saskia. Yes, thank you, Nico and Stephen. And hello, of course, to Mouse. Brian M is saying, Fascarwa Atua live from the pub. Oh, wow. Have one on me, Brian. Valentina Bernardi is saying hello from a stormy Glastonbury. Oh, take shelter. I hope you're okay. Michael Pike says, yay, it's Mythical Ireland Tuesday. Yes, and again, just a warning, I'm also going to have to postpone next week's episode to Tuesday because I'm giving a talk here in Drogheda about Amergin and the Milesians. If you're in Drogheda or the Boyne Valley or in Ireland and you'd like to come to that, the tickets are available on Eventbrite. So yeah, that's in the Punt Pub. Lexi Erickson says hello from Denver, where it is 38 Celsius. Oh wow, still very hot over there. On time for once, says Sue Prenter. Hello, Sue. Good evening to you and to Valerie Gallagher saying hello also. Auntie Joe is in the house. Hello to her. Good to be with all of you. And of course, it wouldn't be the same without you, Joe. John Main says, greetings everyone from a warm and humid San Francisco. Finally, I turned my calendar to September. What a spectacular photo. Thank you, Anthony. And mine has fallen off the wall, so I must retrieve it. I can't even remember what the photo is. But anyway, we'll check that later. Mariana Dunn says, Bannockty, dear Tua and Anthony from a sunny Alexandria, Virginia. Lily Shambles is sending condolences about the passing of Lar. And the ripples of that loss will be felt far and wide. Which is a great tribute to the man and his legacy. Lexi Erickson says hello and thank you. The now Colorado 12. Wow. And all the Tua and RIP Lar. Yes, indeed. Greetings, everyone, and happy Monday. I had a great time meeting up with Tua de Denver. Bill and I were very saddened to hear of Lara's passing. He was truly a very interesting man. Absolutely. And that is a very apt description. An interesting man, and I don't think we could suffer much worse of a fate than to be described as dull, and you certainly couldn't use that word about Lar Dooley. Anne McCallum is hoping everyone's in great form. It's 23 Celsius there, and she's looking forward to another episode. Hope you're recovering well, Anne, from your recent mishap, and that you're you're here, which is of course a big start. And hopefully you'll be back to full mobility and operating as normal in jig time. Brendan Byrne is saying greetings to everyone and congrats to the new arm of Mythical Ireland, the silver arm, the Tua de Denver, which I think is brilliant. Barbara Murphy is saying hello from Tucson, where it's 36.7, heading up to an estimated 40. Wow, still at this time of the year. Yeah. And some nice comments and tributes in relation to Lar as well, which is lovely to see. Yeah, and also adding to that. Yes, I agree. So saddened by Lara's passing, such an inspirational man, full of wisdom and knowledge. A true legend. That's Sarah Jane O'Reilly. Michael Trott is watching from New Zealand. Just arrived in Drogheda in time. Hang on. He's not in New Zealand. He's in Drogheda. To hear today's local podcast. Sorry to hear about your courageous friend who's just died. Happy Tuesday evening over here now. Wow. For once, we're not saying happy Wednesday. Well, we usually say happy Tuesday morning from Monday, but you know what I mean. Peter Kennedy also paying tribute to Lar, and he has a copy of Lar's book, and Catherine as well. Debbie Sheehy is saying hello from a wet and windy Dublin. Lovely to be able to make it this evening. Very sad to hear about Lar Dooley's passing. He worked so hard to raise awareness of the neglect and lack of action to safeguard the cairns at Loughcrew, especially the exquisite Equinox stone on Slieve na Cailleach. May he rest in peace. Hear, hear, Debbie. Judy McQueen is in the house. Hello, Judy. Good evening from the Boyne Valley. Mavanwe Millward is also here. Also sorry to hear of Lara's passing. And she remembers a wonderful trip to Loughcrew where Lar bought lunch and showed me the cairns and taught me a great deal on my visit to Ireland 6 years ago. A very special person. Wow. What an honour. Marilyn Whitney is saying, sorry I'm late. Well, I wouldn't even have noticed. I'm only reading the comments now. So always sneak in and don't sort of tell me you're late. Because, in fact, it doesn't matter because I've done away with the black book. Thank you indeed, Marilyn. I hope you enjoy the episode. Andrew Christie is suggesting something that people can do in terms of remembering or honouring Lar. The subtle essence of the offering will nourish his astral and soul form and help him in his journey in the inner worlds. Mihal, 2i0ZXM, 59 from EI2KC in Drogheda. Good evening to you. Hope you're well. And the interview with Terry, can't wait to see that. Fabulous interview, I know. He's a fabulous scholar. He and I have spoken on occasion. And that, of course, is Lexi's talking about the podcast interview with Terence Meaden. Lily says, I have so many podcasts to catch up on. Put them all on one after the other and just, spend the day in your chair ruminating it, taking it all in. Richard Burgess is saying hello also from New York State and passing on condolences on the passing of Lar, as is Glenda. Good evening, good afternoon to you, Glenda. Dronf is in the house. Hello, Dronf. Welcome to the live stream. Alan Hoskins is saying hi, everyone. Hope all are well. 32.5 Celsius and 29 at this time of the evening. A bit too warm for me. Not in Ballina, of course, but Palermo, Sicily. I was wondering where you were going with those temperatures. You must be in a greenhouse somewhere. R.I.P. Lar Dooley, yes, indeed. And great to see so many people paying tribute. I wish I could join you all for this very special tour. Sounds like it'll be very special. Well, we'll take a few photos and maybe a couple of video clips and share them so you can see what you missed. But all going well, we'll hopefully run this joint tour of Sligo again. Possibly not this year because it's autumn now, and if you want to do it when the days are longer, the weather might be a bit better, Now I'm seeing repeat comments. I don't know why that happens. It's almost as if it has skipped back or something, and I didn't skip back. Anyway, let me catch up again to where I was. Catherine likes Lara's painting, should I say. Ivania Lee says, Marina Mighty Tua from the mighty Waikato. Good morning to you, Ivania. Happy Wednesday to you from all of us in Tuesday. Yes, it's usually Happy Tuesday from all of us in Monday. We're a day late this week. But there you are. Tom King is in the house. On Gowa. A stout fire blazing at the forge, no doubt, Tom. Dram in hand, ready for the reading, I'm sure. Good evening to all from Balbriggan, says Peter. Chilling here with the dogs. Brilliant stuff. Adina Sparks says it's 86 Fahrenheit in New Mexico. Listening in while running errands. That's perfectly acceptable. Oh, it's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, I know you'd nearly forget, wouldn't you? Sharon O'Farrell says, good evening to saddened by Lar Dooley's passing, but glad to hear here tonight. Hi, Sharon, and good evening to you. Hope you're in good spirits. 12 degrees in Aotearoa, light rain. Sounds very Irish. Yeah. Drinking strong Barry's tea for Lar, says Michael Trott. Josie Weatherford also says, I'm so sorry to hear about Lar's passing. I was very inspired and moved by his paintings and writings at the Loughcrew Visitor Centre years ago. Gomai Sovnus Shiori Ege. Yeah, and You see what I mean? A man known far and wide, and a lot of people have nothing but good things to say about him, of course. Lisa Dunn is saddened by the passing of Lar. I rather enjoyed his long-suffering corrections on her maestro. I know he's held by the goddess and walks with her ancestors now. I will always feel his spirit in the sacred spaces of Ireland. He was a bastion fighting to have our ancient sacred spaces restored and held sacred. I hope we can honour him by keeping up his fight. He'll be sadly missed. Here, Lisa, I agree wholeheartedly. Teresa Collins is saying hello to everyone from Killarney, where you had some sunshine down there. Don't be boasting. 15 degrees and cloudy this evening. Same up here, 15 and cloudy. Lovely day yesterday, though, which I was glad about for the helicopter flight. I savour each podcast, says Marilyn. I love how reflective they are. Good stuff. And keep listening. And well, stay subscribed as a patron, of course. Terry's new book is fabulous. And Circles from the Sky is extremely scientific, as that's what he says he is, but the book is brilliant. It is hard to find. That's Lexi talking to Barbara. Hello there, Anthony and friends of the two. Oops, just finished tour and time for sit down. I'm a tad late. Enjoy story time. Yeah, you're a busy man, Tom, and that's a very good complaint. You're bringing them to you. You're like a magnet, bringing them from all around the world to give them a little taste of the Boyne Valley, and in particular, a taste of Irish hospitality. And again, I'm seeing repeated. So if I've missed any of your comments, apologies. I'm scrolling down now and I'm seeing comments that I've seen already. I think I'm caught up, actually, which is a good thing. Here we are, 42 minutes since I started. Well, that includes the 5-minute introduction music. So what are we, 37 minutes? I suppose I better get reading. Last week, we were several pages into the chapter that is called The High King of Ireland. So are you all comfortable? And I picture you all in very comfy armchairs with your feet up on a poof or something, wearing those fluffy slippers, quaffing tea or sipping a dram or downing a pint of Guinness. And if it's your thing, puffing on a tobacco pipe or a cigar or something. And, leaning back with the hands behind the head and saying, yes, this is the life. That's the way I picture it. The reality may be very different, of course. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We will get on with the reading. If you're watching this back as a video after the event, just bear in mind that these are live streams and they've been going since March of 2020. And in every episode, I've always made a point of saying hello to people and making them welcome and showing their comments and encouraging conversation. So if you're frustrated about having to listen to all of that, instead of writing a comment of complaint, a quicker thing to do would be to just scroll through the fast forward arrow until the comments or the introductions and the hellos are all over and the reading begins. Hey, who'd have thought? And if you're watching on YouTube and you're thinking of complaining, hey, it's free. You're not paying for it. So don't complain. Because, hey, guess who won't be listening? Me. Now, there was great plenty in Ireland through his reign. Of course, this was Conor O'More. And we were talking about him last week. 7 ships coming at the one time to Inverculpa, which is, of course, the Boyne estuary, which is just a few miles to my east in the direction of the camera, in that direction. And corn and nuts up to the knees in every harvest, and the trees bending from the weight of fruit, and the bush and the bogne full of fish every summer, and that much law and peace and goodwill among the people, that each one thought the other's voice as sweet as the strings of harps. Now, the reason that is, here we go, down a rabbit hole already. Sorry for the early departure from the script. But the reason this is important, the previous 2 podcasts addressed a very worrying and serious situation in the River Boyne, which is the serious decline in the number of Atlantic salmon, salmo, salar, that are returning to the river to spawn. And the numbers have basically fallen off a cliff. And so so podcast number 21 was about that, and commentary by local voices and organizations about the causes of that and what can be done about it. Podcast number 22 followed up immediately with a conversation with fisheries scientist Ken Whelan about, the life cycle of the Atlantic salmon, the origins of their coming to the Boyne, the fall off in the numbers, the likely causes, and of course the main thing is, what are the solutions? How do we go about reversing this terrible reduction in the numbers of salmon? And of course the reason all of that's important culturally is because the River Boyne is known famously in mythology and legend as the place where the great salmon of knowledge was caught and accidentally tasted by the boy Jevna, who became Fionn McCool as a result. And the wolves themselves were held by hostages not to kill more than one calf in every pen. And particularly interested in any mention I see of wolves from now on, because which podcast number was it? Before the salmon podcasts, was it number 19? The Wolves of Newgrange, basically, is the title of that podcast. And the fact that very recent revelations about dog bones found during the excavations of Newgrange in the chamber of that monument in 1967 have been examined recently and found not to be dog bones, but in fact wolf bones. They were buried in there in the Neolithic. So if you want to hear more about that, subscribe again on Patreon to the podcasts, and you can see some links to the podcasts on the Mythical Ireland website at a link that I'm just sharing as a comment now. There was no thunder or storm in his reign. This is Conor O'More. And from spring to harvest, there was not as much wind as would stir a cow's tail. And the cattle were without keepers because of the greatness of peace. And in his reign, there were the three crowns in Ireland: the crown of flowers, and the crown of acorns, and the crown of wheat eaters. And of course, acorns, again, this all ties in very nicely with the recent podcasts, because if you listened to the podcast about pig feasting at Newgrange in the late Neolithic, you'll know that it's likely that those pigs were mostly fed on acorns, oak mast, indicating that at that time in the late Neolithic, there were still substantial oak, as there were for a long time afterwards, substantial oak forests in Ireland, native oak forests, which sadly are pretty much non-existent these days, thanks to the deforestation of the last 5,000 years. Yes, Michael Pike is right. The Wolves of Newgrange were 2 to 3 weeks ago, as I recall. I'll give you the exact podcast number now by going on to Patreon. Patreon.com/Mythical Ireland, that address that's scrolling down there. The pig feasting, the wolves, not the pig feasting, the Wolves of Newgrange, that was podcast number, it's taking a while to load, 19. The Wolves of Newgrange. Yes, indeed. I'll paste a link where you can read a bit about that, and it'll take you to the post that you can either subscribe and become a patron, or if you want to just listen to one of the podcasts on its own, you can purchase access to that without having to become a monthly patron. Just to let you know, that's an option too. But after a while, there began to be discontent on the sons of Dundessa, because they were hindered from the robbing and killing there used to be in the old time. Wow. In a time of peace, there's always somebody who regrets that, well, we can't do the usual murdering and marauding and thievery that we used to do. How typically human. What? You want to say hello? Come on. No, I'm not rubbing you down there. No, you have to come up. No, come up. That's the one. Yay! Coda says hello, everyone. Oh, look at that. He's a good boy, huh? What? Did you hear me talking about wolves and saying, but I'm a dog. I don't want you talking about other doggies. I want my attention. Now, there you go. Good boy. Go on. Good. That's it. Yeah. I know. Now, I can't spend the day rubbing you, unfortunately, and I still haven't nailed the brush to the desk, Desiree. And to vex the king and to see what he would do, they stole 3 things, a pig and a bullock and a cow, from the same man every year for 3 years. And every year the countryman would come to the king to make his complaint. And every year the king would say, it is to the sons of Dun Dessa you should go, for it is they took the beasts. But whenever he would go and speak to them, they would go near to kill him, and he would not go back to the king for fear he might be vexed. So a pig, a bullock, and a cow. And, you know, it's like, I'm always saying this, and I've said it regularly on my tours of the Hill of Tara, that, you know, for centuries, in fact, probably for several thousand years in Ireland, wealth was measured by the number of livestock you had, in particular cows, in particular milch cows. And of course, fines and tributes in breach of the Brehon laws and the tributes to the king were paid in cows. And if you wanted to rob somebody, of course, before the Vikings started to mint coins in Ireland about 1,000 years ago, if you wanted to rob somebody, or you wanted to rob, it's like the equivalent of robbing a bank, you know. There was no money to rob. So what you did was you robbed livestock. So the sons of Dun Dessa went on with their robbery, and 3 times 50 other young men joined with them, sons of the great men of Ireland. Hardly that great. Well, I suppose the sins of the son can't be blamed on the father necessarily. But interesting. Yes. And of course, as always, just to remind you, when you see that number thrice 50 in Irish myth, it doesn't literally mean 150. It means a large number and sometimes an uncountable number. But one time they went doing their bad work in Connacht, and they followed a swineherd that ran for them. And he called out for help, and the people gathered to him. And the robbers were taken and brought back to Chower, of course, Tara, the seat of the High King. King Conora was asked to give judgment then, and it is what he said. Let every father of a robber put his own son to death, but let my foster brothers be spared. Give us leave, said all the people, and we will put them to death for you. I will not consent to that indeed, said Conora. Their life must be spared. But if they must do robbery, he said, let them go across the sea and do it on the men of Alban. Yeah, so it's completely not acceptable to carry out criminal acts here in Ireland, but it's perfectly acceptable to go over to Britain and Alba, probably referring to Scotland. Yeah. Go on over there and do it, and I won't bat an eyelid. So the sons of Dun Dessa and their men were driven out of the country, and some of the mains went with them, the sons of Ailill and Maeve, and 3 great fighting men of Leinster that were called the 3 Red Hounds of Cúchulain, and they brought a troop of wild, restless men with them. Interesting. The 3 Red Hounds. Yeah, there's a joke there for sure, Lily. A pig, a bullock, and a cow walked into a bar. Monica Regley sneaked in late. You see, I wouldn't even noticed if you didn't make a point of saying you were late. Hello, Monica. Good evening to you. What are called rustlers? Yeah. Well, I mean, we also call it cattle rustling, but there's not much of it these days. See, there's a sneaky little thing that happens now, which is cattle are tagged. They all have ear tags. It's actually very difficult to rob cattle now and to sell them on without being caught, without the trail leading back to the farm of origin, as it were. A few people saying hello to Coda, who, yes, indeed, made a brief appearance. Good, I'll keep going. They set out then in their ships, and when they were out on the rough sea, they met with the ship of Ingcel, Ingcel. I think in the original version that we read in the year 2020, there was a fada on the E, and it was pronounced, I pronounced it Ingcel. I think, am I right or wrong about that? I'm not sure. The one-eyed grandson of Cormac of Britain. They were going to make an attack on him, but Ingcel said, "It would be best for us to come to an agreement together, for you have been driven out of Ireland, and I myself have been driven out from Britain. Let us make this agreement," he said. "Let you come and spoil the people of my country, and then I will go back with you and spoil the people of your country." Wow, that sounds a little bit chaotic. So they agreed to that, and they cast lots as to where they would go first. And it is how the lot fell, that they should go first to Britain with Ingcel. And when they got there, it chanced that the father and mother and the 7 brothers of Ingcel had been sent for to the house of the king of the district, and Ingcel and his comrades made an attack on them and killed them all in one night. No messing with this Ingcel bloke, I'm telling you. Then they made for Alban, and there they did every sort of destruction and robbery. And at last they turned back again to Ireland, that Ingcel might spoil their people the same way as they had spoiled his. Now, just at that time, peace was after being broken in Ireland by the 2 Carberis that were at war with one another in Tuamomain. The second M possibly lenited Tuamomain of Munster, and no one was able to put an end to their quarrel till Conora himself went there to make peace. And he did that, although by doing it he broke 2 of the bonds put on him by the man of the waves. And on his way back to Chower, when he was passing Uisneach in Meath, he and his people thought they saw fighting from east to west and from north to south, and armies of naked men, and the country of the O'Neills like a cloud of fire around them. Wow. "What is that?" said Conora. "It is easy to know that," said his people. "The king's law has broken down, and the country is on fire." "What way had we best go?" said Conora. "To the northwest," said his people. So then they went right-hand ways round Chower and left-hand ways around Brega, and that was another breaking of his bonds. And they met with beasts and hunted them, and he did not know till afterwards that they were the evil beasts of Kierna. So Jeshul and Tuhal are the Irish words for right-hand wise and left-hand wise. And it was the she had made the druid mist of smoke about him, because he had begun to break his bonds. What's that? The Ceodreachta, sometimes called the Faith Feda, the cloak of invisibility. Fascinatingly, that was also the prayer that St. Patrick uttered when he and his companions were walking from the hill of Slane, where they had lit the Paschal fire, to Tara to meet the High King, Lara MacNeil. And that made them not quite invisible. It made them appear to their ambushers as a herd of deer. Great fear came on Conora then, and he did not know what way would be best to go. And they went on by the sea coast towards the south by the road of Cúchulain, which is undoubtedly Slieve Cúchulain, not Slieve, Slieve Cúchulain. The road from Tara that led into Leinster and the southeast, I think. And then Conora said, "Where shall we go to spend the night?" "I can say this truly," said Machecht, one of his fighting men. Interestingly, Machecht, of course, the name of one of the last triplicate Tuatha De Danann High Kings of Ireland, MacCool, Macecht, and Magrania. In this case, Macecht, one of his fighting men. He that kept 3 of the Fomors as hostages at the king's court. Lots of fascinating insights here, because we have the mound of the hostages at Tara, located to where the house of the hostages used to be. And the way there, people would not spoil corn or milk in Ireland through his reign. So they kept the Fomorians as hostages, or 3 of them at least, to prevent them from destroying the corn and milk during Conrad's reign. It is oftener the men of Ireland have been quarrelling to have you in the house than you have been straying about looking for a lodging. I have a friend not far from this, said Conora, if we but knew the way to his house. What is his name, said Macecht. The Derga of Leinster, that keeps the great inn, said Conora. He came to ask a gift of me, and it is not a refusal he met with. It's a very Irish way of saying, and I didn't refuse. It is not a refusal he met with. I gave him 100 head of cattle. I gave him 100 fat swine. I gave him 100 cloaks of fine cloth. I gave him 100 swords and spears. I gave him 100 red gilded brooches. I gave him 10 vats of good brown ale. I gave him 3 times 9 white hounds in silver chains. Wow. 27. Here's that lunar number. And the silver chain? Possibly the Milky Way. I gave him 100 swift horses. I would give him the same if he would come again. He will make a return to me tonight, for it would be a strange thing he to begrudge me anything when I come to his house. Rothio is in the house. I'm sorry I'm very late today. I had house chores to do at my new place. A lot of cleaning and waiting for the furniture to arrive. I'll listen to the live later, but I didn't want to miss the greetings and the reading. That's okay. Rothio, good luck with the new house. Hope you enjoy it with the new... yes, with the chores as well. But, it's... I think it's a very good complaint to say that you have a house and, that you have to keep it clean. So, yeah, enjoy it. And we'll see you on the rerun. But there's your big hello from all of us. When I knew his house, said Macecht, the road we are in now led straight to it. 7 doorways there are in it, and 7 sleep rooms between every 2 doorways. We will go to the house with all our people, said Conora. If that is so, said Macecht, I will go on first till I light a fire in the house before you. They went on then towards Auchlia, the ford of the Hurdles, which is on the River Liffey in the present city of Dublin. And presently a man with hair cut short, with a dreadful appearance, with but 1 hand and 1 foot and eye, overtook them. A forked pole of black iron he had in his hand, and on his back a black bristled, singed pig, and it squealing. And there was a woman coming after him, ugly and big-mouthed. Welcome to you, my master, Conora, he said. It is long we have known of your coming. Who gives that welcome, said Conora. Fair Cuchulain, the man of the wood, he said, and his black pig with him, that you may not be fasting tonight, for you are the best king that ever came into the world. Leave me for tonight, said Conora, and I will go to you any other night that pleases you. We will not, said he, but we will go to the place you will be in tonight, O fair little master Conora. So he went on towards the inn, and his wife behind him, and his black pig squealing on his back. After that, Conora saw before him 3 horsemen going towards the inn. Red cloaks they had, and red shields, and red spears in their hands, and they riding on red horses. Of course, do you remember the gyasa from earlier on in the story, the taboos? Well, if not, you'll have to rewatch that episode. What men are these before me? Said Conora. It is in my bonds not to let them go before me. 3 reds to the house of red, that is, of Jarraga. Derga, Jarrag. And Jarrag, of course, in modern Irish is a word that means red. So undoubtedly, Durga, there's a meaning there related to the colour red. Lost my place because I got distracted. Who will follow them and bid them to come back and to follow after me? I will follow them, said Lefri Flaith, Conora's son. So Flaith means sovereignty or sovereign. Lefri, Lefri. So it's all one word, Lefri Flaith. Brian M, I think, is helping, and maybe Josie. Would you know what that name might mean? Lefri Flaith. So he struck his horse and went after them, but he could not come up with them. So he called to them to turn back and not to go on before the king. And he did this 3 times, and the 3rd time one of the 3 men turned his head and said, There is great news before us, my son, whetting of swords, destroying of life, shields with broken bosses after the fall of night. Our horses are tired. We are riding the horses of the She. Although we are alive, we are dead. And with that, they went from him, and he went back to his father. You did not keep back the men, said Conora. It was not my fault indeed, said Lefri Flaith. Then he told the answer they had given him, and Conora and his people were not well pleased to hear that, and uneasiness came on them. All my bonds are ended tonight, said Conora, and those 3 reds before me are sent by the She. Now, while he and his people were in the road of Colo, going towards the inn, Inchcail and the outlaws of Ireland were come in their ships to the coast of Brega against Ether, Ben Ether, Hoth Head. And the sons of Dundessa said, Strike the sails now, and let some light-footed messenger go on shore and see can we keep our bargain with Inchcail and give him a spoil for the spoil he gave us. Let some man go, said Inchcail, that is the gift of hearing and the far sight of judgment. I have the gift of hearing, said Manya Milscohach. I have the gift of far sight and of judgment, and said Manya Ando. It is as well for you to go so, said the others. Somebody looking for the page number, no? No, I don't think so. Maybe not. So they landed and went on till they came to Ben Ether, and they stopped there to try what they might see and hear. Very Irish way of saying things. And they stopped there to try what they might see and hear. Be quiet now, said Manya Milscohach, and listen. What do you hear? Said Manya Ando. I hear the coming of a king, he said. And look now and tell me what you see. I see, he said, a great company of men travelling over hills and rivers. Clothes of every colour they have, and grey spears over their chariots, and swords with ivory hilts beside them, and silver shields. And I swear by the oath my people swear by, he said, the horses they have with them are the horses of some good lord. And it is my opinion that it is Conora, son of Etherskell, and a good share of the men of Ireland with him, that is travelling the road. With that, they went back and told their comrades what they had heard and seen. And when they heard it, they brought the boats to shore and landed on the strand of Furbuiha. And it was just at the same moment Macecht was striking a spark to kindle a fire at the inn before the High King. Then Conora came to the lawn of the inn, and he went in, and his people, and they took their seats, and the three red men sat down along with them, and the man of the wood with his squealing pig. Interesting. And Dodderga came to them with 3 times 50 fighting men, every one of them having a long head of hair and a short cloak, and a great blackthorn stick with bands of iron in his hand. "Welcome, my master," Conora, sounding like a Sith Lord. "Welcome, my master," said Dodderga. "And if you were to bring the whole of the men of Ireland with you, there would be a welcome before them all." After the fall of evening, they saw a lone woman coming to the door of the inn. Long hair she had, and a grey woolen cloak, and her mouth was drawn to one side of her head. She came and leaned up against the doorpost, and she threw an evil eye on the king and the young men about him. "Well, woman," said Conora, "if you have the druid sight, what is it you see for us?" "If I thought she'd the druid sight after all those signs, I definitely wouldn't be asking her what she saw. I'd be kind of getting out of there and hightailing it as far as I could go." "It is what I see for you," she said, "that nothing of your skin or of your flesh will escape from the place you are in, except what the birds will bring away in their claws." You see, Connor, I told you. You had to ask, didn't you? It's like in those horror movies. You're in the movie, in the cinema, in the movie theater, and it's a horror movie. And it's like there's a creaking noise from the door at the end of the hall, and there's a little light in it, and it's like everything's dark, and the spooky music is playing, and you're sitting there going, yeah, just ignore the creaking door and, you know, the will to go down there and satisfy your curiosity as to what's in that room. Just move on. Move on. Ignore. Forget about it. Forget about it. Little Mickey Blue Eyes. Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Anybody remember Hugh Grant in Mickey Blue Eyes? But no, he had to ask. "And let me come into the house now," she said. "Well, after that, I don't think I'd be inviting her in, to be honest with you. You know, forget about it. Move on. Close that door." Sorry, I've lost my place again. "And let me come into the house now," she said. "There are bonds on me," said Conora, "not to let one woman come by herself into the house after the setting of the sun. And bring her out," he said, "a good share of food from my own table, but let her stop for the night in some other place." So finally, the Bowl Conora is seeing a little bit of sense in this matter. "If the king's hospitality is gone from him," she said, "and if it is the way with him not to have room in his house for one lone woman to be fed and lodged, I will go and get food and lodging from some better man." "Let her in spite of my bonds," said Conora when he heard that. So they let her in, but none of them felt easy in their minds after what she had said. And this reminds me of the scene at Edoras, isn't it? When Gandalf and Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas are asking to be allowed into the Great Hall to see King Theoden. And they're told, that no man was allowed to bring a weapon into the house by order of Grima Wormtongue. And Gandalf says, you wouldn't part an old man from his walking stick. And he kind of winks at Aragorn. And they let him in with the stick. Not a good idea. Because Gandalf's stick is no ordinary stick, as we know. Oh, Brian is saying there's a newer version, an academic version of the Destruction of Doderga's Hostel with notes, $250. Wow. Yeah, I'd like to see a link to that because, that could be very handy in the Mythical Ireland library, Now, all this time, the outlaws were on their way to the inn, and they stopped at Lechaiv Kend Schleve. And when they saw the great light that was shining from the inn through the wheels of the chariots that were outside the doors, Inchael said to Ferrogain, what is that great light beyond? It is what I think, said Ferrogain, that it is the fire of Conora, the High King. And I would be glad he not to be there tonight, for it would be a pity if harm would come on him, or his life be shortened, for he is a branch in its blossom. It is good luck for me, said Inchael. If he is there, spoil for spoil. It is no worse for you than it was for me when I gave up my father and mother and my 7 brothers and the king of my country into your hands. That is true, said all the others. Then every man of them brought up a stone from the strand to make a cairn, as they were used to do before they would make an attack on any place. Interesting. To know by it afterwards how many men they had lost. Wow. Yeah. Count the stones. Interesting idea. Sorry, I'm just taking a note here. Fascinating. For every man that would come from the fight would take his stone from the cairn, and the stones of all that would be killed would be left there. After that, they held a council, and it is what they agreed, that one man should go and spy out what way things were at the inn. And it was Inchael himself went to do that, and he was a good while looking in by the 7 doors of the house, but at least some of the men inside caught sight of him, and he made his way back to his comrades, where they were all sitting down, and their leaders in the middle, waiting to hear his news. Did you see the house, Inchael? Said Ferrogain. I did see it, said Inchael, and whether or not there is a king in it, it is a royal house, and I will take it as my share when the time comes. You may do that, said Conora's foster brothers, but we will not go against it before we know who is in it. The first I saw, said Inchael, was a large man of good race, with bright eyes, and with hair like flax, his face open, wide above and narrow below, with modest looks and having no beard. A 5-barbed spear in his hand, and a shield with 5 gold circles on it. 9 men he had about him, all beautiful and all alike, so that you would think they had the one father and mother. Who were those men, Ferrogain? He asked. It is easy to say that, said Ferrogain. Remember, the other version, was that a Stokes version? I think we read from 2 different versions back in 2020. Where Ferrogain is saying it is easy to say that, we had instead not difficult that. That was Cormac Conloingus, son of Conchobar, the best fighter behind a shield in all Ireland, but he is modest with all that. And those were his 9 comrades about him. They have never put men to death because of their poverty, or spared them because of their riches. He is a good leader they have with them, I swear by the gods my people swear by, it is no small slaughter they will make before the inn tonight. Rex Fortenberry is just passing through. Rock on, everyone. Catch up later indeed. Hello, Rex. You were one of the Tua de Denver, weren't you? Hope you enjoyed that. Great to see you, by the way. And hello and goodbye, and we'll see you on the rerun. It is a pity for him that will make the attack, said Launa Druth, the fool. Because of that man only, Cormac Conloingus. And if I had my way, he said, the attack would not be made, for the sake of that man alone, and his beauty and his goodness. You will not be able to hinder it, Launa, said Inchcail. You are no good of a fighter. Again, a very Irish way of saying things. We could just say, you're not a good fighter. You're no good of a fighter. I know you well. There are clouds of weakness coming on you. No one, whether old man or storyteller, will be able to say I drew back from this fight before I had gone through with it. It is well enough for you, Inchcail, said Launa. You will escape after the fight, and you will bring away the head of a strange king with you. But as for myself, he said, it is my head will be the first to be tossed to and fro tonight. What did you see after that? Said Ferrogain. I saw a room with 3 soft young boys in it, and they wearing cloaks of silk with gold brooches. Well, glad you broached the subject. Moving swiftly on. Long yellow hair they had, as curly as a ram's head, a golden shield and a candle of a king's house over each of them, and everyone in the house humours them. Who were those, Ferrogain? He said. But Ferrogain was crying tears down, so that the front of his cloak was wet, and it was a long time before he could bring out his voice. Oh, little ones, he said then, I have good reason for crying. Those are the 3 sons of the king, Oval and Ovline and Corpra Findmore. There is grief on us if that story is true, said the other sons of Dundassa, for it is good these 3 are. They are as mannerly as young girls, and they have the hearts of brothers and the courage of lions. Whoever has been with them and parts from them, it is little he sleeps or eats till the end of 9 days, fretting after their company. It is a pity for him that will destroy them. It's like, lads, you do know you have a choice here. You do not have to go and carry out this act. You can just walk away. I saw after that, said Inchcail, a very fair man, having a golden bush of hair, the size of a reaping basket, a long, heavy, 3-edged sword in his hand. Is that like triangular in profile or in section? A 3-edged sword. Interesting that. I'm wondering how a sword can have 3 edges. A red shield speckled with rivets of white bronze between plates of gold. That man is known to all the men of Ireland, said Ferrogain. It is Conall Cearnach, son of Amergin, and he is the man Conora thinks most of in the world, and that shield in his hand is the law of Toppy. Quick hand, isn't that what that means? There are 7 doorways in the inn, and when the attack is made, Conall Cearnach will be at every one of them. What did you see after that, Inchcail? He said. I saw, he said, a brown, big man with short brown hair and a red speckled cloak and a black shield with clasps of gold, and with him 2 chief men in their first greyness and black swords at their sides. And one of them had in his hand a great spear with 50 rivets through it, and he shook it over his head and struck the haft against the palm of his hand 3 times, and then he plunged it into a great pot that stood before them, with some black thing in it. And when he was putting it in there, when he was putting it in, there were flames on the shaft. Who were those men, Ferrogain? That brown man is Munravar, son of Gergind, one of the champions of the Red Branch. And another is Shanaka, the beautiful son of Ailil. And the man with the spear is Dovtach, the beetle of Ulster. And the spear in his hand. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that kind of beetle. And the spear in his hand, his Kelfair's Lewin, that was in the battle of Mychura. Wow. Sorry, just taking a note here. And that was brought from the east by the 3 children of Turin. And when a battle is coming near, it flames up of itself, and it must be kept quenched in a vessel, or it will go through whoever has it in his hand. Sounds a little bit like Sting, is it? The sword of the dagger of Frodo that glows when orcs are near. See how all these things are really borrowed from mythology and Irish myth, I presume, much of it. Yeah, Lexi Erickson. Let's have Tom King's opinion on this. Can a sword have 3 edges? I saw after that, said Inkill, a room with 9 men in it, fair-haired and beautiful, with speckled cloaks, and above them were 9 bagpipes, and light was shining from the ornaments that were on them. Those are the 9 pipers that came to Conora out of the hill of the Shee at Brega, said Ferrogain. Because of the great stories about him, the best pipers there in the whole world, and they are good fighters, but to fight with them is to fight with a shadow, for they kill but cannot be killed, because they are from the Shee. Wow. I saw after that, said Inkill, 3 very big men with terrible looks. A dress of rough hair they had, and a club of iron with chains on it in every man's hand. There was sadness on them, and they standing alone, and everyone in the house avoiding them. Who were those, Ferrogain? They were the 3 who had forgotten to spray the deodorant on themselves. Ferrogain was silent for a while, and he said then, I do not know of any such men in the world, unless they might be of the 3 giants. Unless they might be the 3 giants Cúchulain spared, the time he took them from the men of Falga. He would not let them be killed because of their strangeness. Conora bought them from Cuchulain after that. So it is along with him they are. I saw 9 men on the north side of the house, said Inkill, with very yellow manes of hair, and short linen dresses, and purple cloaks without brooches, broad spears, and red curved shields. I know those men, said Ferrogain, 3 royal princes of Britain that are with the King Oswald and his 2 foster brothers, Osbrit of the Long Hand, and his 2 foster brothers, and Lindus, and his 2 foster brothers. Osbert of the Long Hand and his 2 foster brothers, Lindus and his 2 foster brothers. Hey, so guess what? At this point, having been reading for, well, the episode has been running for an hour and a half now. I think it's time to say pause until next time. Yeah, I know. Shock horror, I can hear the collective disappointment and the, oh no, he's not stopping in the middle of the story, is he? Yes, I am. Tuesday Thompson has arrived on Tuesday. Happy Mythology Tuesday, nonetheless, is exactly right. It's been a day. Well, hopefully the day is over and it'll be a better evening and a better day tomorrow. But you're very welcome to the live stream Tuesday. And of course, you know that when we finish live streaming, you can rewatch the whole thing, should you wish, as a video immediately afterwards. You might have a second career as a film buff. How do you remember all the script pages? Well, I don't. There's just particular film scenes that I like and remember, but I wouldn't be. Yeah, definitely wouldn't consider myself a film buff. Like, there's lots of films that I just wouldn't watch, but yeah, some of them leaving an impression on me, Brendan. And I like them. Collective to a pause, says Michael. Yeah. I used new over 200 growth seems. I've not seen or heard of one, Lexi. Most interesting. This is Tom talking about a three-edged sword. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that would look like. The connections between ancient Irish mythology and Vedas clear as day. Yeah, so there's a book that I haven't read yet. That's Moncon McGann's book about the connections between Irish traditions and those of the, I suppose, the eastern edge of what was once the Indo-European language area. And I will have to get it and I will have to read it. But yeah, that has been, of course, suggested on many occasions, the connections there. 400 pages, says Andrew. We're talking about the academic translation of Dodderga's Hostel, I think, Andrew. You might share a link with us, would you, so we can have a look. But it sounds like crazy price. Cheapest in UK, £100. Wow. Okay. Maybe will somebody share a link to that, the name of the book, so that we can have a look at it. Dodderga could also be Red God, which was a druidic name for the sun. Yeah, I think we mentioned that back in 2020, Paddy, when we were talking about, well, when we were reading the other version of the destruction of Dodderga's Hostel, Da being perhaps a corruption of Day, Dia, Red God. Yeah, sounds interesting, doesn't it? Maybe somebody has already shared this, but I'm just catching up on a lot of comments now. Rossio's talking about musical instruments. I don't have musical instruments, but my voice doesn't need too much space, though it'll have enough for my drawings. Brian is saying, I'm still certain Durga was masculinized by the monks. Durga is a female Gaelic word meaning formidable or unmovable, and Durga is a great Vedic devi. Like Danu was Asura, she would match Dun 100%. Interesting, yeah. Again, an area that I must do more study on when I get the time. If I get the time. I forgot my copy of The Destruction at Home, lol. I'd have more terms. There is a newer academic. Yes, oh, yeah. Okay, so I think I'm caught up with the previous batch of comments at last, says you. Just The Destruction, etc. by Ralph O'Connor, Amazon UK. The Destruction of Dodderga's Hostel, and we're looking for Ralph O'Connor. Kingship and Narrative Artistry in the Medieval Irish Saga. First edition. $131.72 hardcover is the price that I'm being quoted here. When was that published? I'm trying to find out. 2020. Doesn't say. 2013. Okay, so it's recent enough. Yeah, that's one I definitely would like to add. I like the academic stuff because a lot of the scholars really know the medieval version of the language, the Irish language, in depth, and of course are able to make those comparisons. Yeah, the book invites the reader to enjoy and understand this literary masterpiece, i.e. Tugal Brunne Dodderga, the destruction of the Derga's hostel, explaining its narrative artistry within its native, classical, and biblical literary contexts. Against a historical backdrop of shifting ideologies of Christian kingship, it interprets the saga's possible significance for contemporary audiences, plural, as a questioning exploration of the challenges and paradoxes of kingship. Yeah, it sounds really interesting. If only there was a copy available at what we might call a more reasonable price for those of us who aren't, scholars and have access to university libraries and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what we can do about that. So apparently there is a chapter from that published on Oxford Academic. Yeah, which of course you still have to buy the book to get the rest. And that's fine, perfectly okay. As an author, I don't want people just, you put a lot of time and effort into your books. You want people to buy them. It's just, yeah, at a reasonable price would be nice. A lot of academic works are hugely expensive, as we all know. Let me catch up on the latest round of people saying goodbye already. Yes, indeed. Have a fabulous week, everybody. 3 half blades, each at 120 degrees from the other. Not very aerodynamic, says Barbara. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Triangular in section, Maybe good for lethal stabbing, but could only cut to the depth of each blade, or triangular in cross-section. Very unfunctional. I completely agree. 2013, yes, indeed, Andrew. Thank you indeed for that. Just looked it up. It's interpretation, not an actual sword. Your side, their side, and the truth. So interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, something I must delve into more deeply, Brian. Thank you, everyone who's leaving. Well, there you have it. Now, there's no putting out the bins tonight because the bins were last night. Because tonight's Tuesday. Well, there you go. One thing that I don't have to do following the live stream tonight. Anyway, as I say, still tickets available for Saturday's megalithic tour of Sligo. And, I'm a Boyne Valley man, born and bred, right? But there's something about Sligo. It is the most beautiful, incredible landscape. And their monuments, they may be smaller and less decorated than Brunabonja, but they're older by several centuries, and they're set in the most stunning landscapes. Oh. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So if you've booked a ticket on Saturday's megalithic tour of Sligo, as I said at the outset, I'm really looking forward to meeting you and spending the day with you. Hopefully you'll learn something. As with all my tours, I always learn something myself. It's always a learning experience for me. I hope that you have a fabulous time if you're coming along. If not, and you're not able to make it for whatever reason, you're working, you're not available on Saturday, or you're not in the country, well, keep an eye out, because if it goes well, we certainly will be looking at a repeat, perhaps sometime in the spring. Almost certainly not in the winter, because of the shortness of the day and the unreliability of the weather, to which lots of my Irish friends are saying, are you saying the weather is reliable in the summer? It's reliably unreliable. Bins, says Tom King. What a load of rubbish. Evil laugh. Yes, indeed. Do I have any quick dad jokes or humor for you? Let me just check. Why is it going in there? I want you to go in there. Hello, I'm here for a job interview. Great. Do you have experience? Yes. This is my 20th job interview. Me. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Doctor, do what? You're just sitting there. Me? Exactly. I'm opening a conspiracy theory themed strip club. It's going to be called Illuminati. Yes. And if you haven't seen it already, claustrophobia is the fear of closed spaces. For example, I'm going to the pub and I'm scared it will be closed. I'm laughing, and you're probably not laughing, you know. Anyway, I think that's enough. Right, you've had enough. They're all departing in their droves. Yep, we'll see you all. Do remember that Live Irish Myths is streamed every Monday at 8 p.m. Irish time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. But I know it's Tuesday today. I had to postpone because of a very, very interesting tour yesterday. And as I say, next Monday, I'm actually giving a talk in Drogheda. So, you know, instead of tuning in to Live Irish Myths, you could come along to the Punt Pub in Drogheda and hear me cracking stupid dad jokes live. And maybe talking a little bit about myths and legends as well. And that's the talk about Amergin of the Milesians. And hope you can join me for that. Tickets on eventbrite.ie. So next week's stream will also be postponed, probably, hopefully, to the Tuesday evening. I say probably, hopefully, because I have a tour that day as well. So that will depend on me getting back on time. But if I'm going to be late, of course, I will put a post up about it beforehand. All right. All that remains for me to say at this point, apart from thank you for joining us, and Aresh J, Garawa Anam, and tributes to Lar Dooley, the late great Lar Dooley, we'll see you next time. Ichawa, Colosov, Sloan Gafol, August To Gubogay.